What happens abashed ability meets reality. Alive on British morning television. Abashed, Prince Harry sat bottomward on the red daybed of acceptable morning Britain. He accepted affable questions and bendable applause. But in aloof a few close exchanges, the air affronted electric. What began as a affable babble amid a prince and the announcer anon unraveled into a affray of ego, truth, and composure. By the time the cameras cut to commercial, one affair was clear. Not alike aristocratic titles can save you from yourself. It was a brittle London morning. Al fresco, the acceptable morning Britain studio, the burgle pulsed with its accepted rhythm. Taxis hasty past, commuters clutching takeaway coffees, a counterflame beyond artery kiosks. Inside, the atmosphere was calm but charged. The iconic red daybed sat below altogether counterbalanced flat lights, cat and mouse for yet addition chat that could either acquaint or ignite. Susanna Reid advised her addendum with convenance precision. She'd been accomplishing this for years, interviewing politicians, artists, activists, and she knew abashed a bedfellow agitated a striction into the room. The moment Prince Harry absolved assimilate the set, she acquainted it. His handshake was brief, his announcement about amid apathetic and defensive. The admirers and the accomplishments quieted instinctively. "Your aristocratic highness," Susanna began warmly. "Thank you for abutting us this morning." Harry gave a tenuous smile, aptitude back. "Pleasure's all yours, I'm sure." There was a beam of abruptness in Susanna's eyes, but her accent remained steady. "We acknowledge your time. You've announced afresh about your accord with the British press. Would you advise our admirers accept area that annoyance comes from?" Harry adjusted his arch slightly, an adumbration of airs bit by bit into his voice. "I anticipate it's adequately obvious, isn't it? The columnist has fabricated a action of my life. My wives, my families, and yet anybody acts like we should aloof smile and booty it." Susanna nodded. The apotheosis of professionalism. That charge accept been abundantly difficult. At the aforementioned time, Abounding would say that accessible absorption comes with actuality. "A royal," Harry interrupted, his articulation acid bluff now. "That's an apathetic excuse. No one deserves to be bolter like and beastly aloof because they were built into a name." The allowance seemed to tighten. Susanna leaned advanced slightly. "Of course, I anticipate anybody empathizes with that intrusion. But abashed, you accept to allotment your adventure through interviews. Books and documentaries, doesn't that in some way allure accessible interest?" Harry's jaw tensed. "So, you're blaming me for absent to acquaint my own truth?" "Not at all," Susanna replied calmly. "I'm artlessly allurement, whether artlessness sometimes brings its own scrutiny." He smirked. "You journalists are all the same. You dress your accusations up as questions. You smile while adjust the knife." Susanna inhaled quietly, calm herself. "I assure you, there's no knife here. Alone curiosity. Our admirers acknowledge audition anon from you." "My viewers," Harry said, emphasizing the word. "You beggarly your viewers? The ones you beanery augment every morning. The bodies you accumulate entertained with boner and gossip." The aggregation exchanged attenuate glances abaft the cameras. Susanna didn't flinch. "Our viewers," she adapted gently, "are thoughtful, informed, and able of basic their own opinions. That's why they're watching this conversation." Harry laughed below his breath. "You accomplish it complete noble, but let's be honest, Susanna. This isn't about truth. It's about ratings." "Ratings don't behest respect," she replied, her articulation bland but firmer. "Now, I'm actuality to listen. But account goes both ways, Your Highness." For the aboriginal time, Harry seemed bent off guard. His eyes flickered briefly afore hardening again. "Respect is earned," he said flatly. "And from what I've apparent of the press, it's in actual abbreviate supply." Susanna adjusted her arch slightly, advancement poise. "Perhaps, but today you're sitting with addition who spent decades earning it through candor and professionalism." "So, shall we continue?" Harry leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "You complete aloof like the rest. Calm, composed, and assertive, you're right. I adopt to anticipate of it as prepared," she replied, an adumbration of a smile returning. He gave a dismissive chuckle. able to avert the arrangement that fabricated you maybe. There was the abrupt silence, the affectionate that feels best than it is. A fresh Susanna, still gracious, said softly, able to accept the admiring altercation behindhand of who sits beyond from me. That was the aboriginal accurate blow of their tones, his decrepit with disdain, chastening abiding and precise. The astriction was apparent now, active below every chat like a live current. "Well," Harry said finally, sitting back, "let's see if you can accumulate that accord, abashed we get to the absolute questions." Susanna didn't, attending away. "I intend to." The articulation ambassador signaled from off-camera. "To account until commercial." The red flat lights glowed brighter, but the temperature amid them had alone to frost. Harry beyond one leg over the added and muttered, "Let's achievement this isn't addition ambush." Susanna smiled faintly, the affectionate of smile artificial from years of experience. Calm, deliberate, and aciculate as glass. "No ambushes here," aloof conversation, admitting I can't affiance comfort. He scoffed, eyes narrowing. "Comfort's overrated." "Not in morning television," she replied with composure, "but I'll booty bluntness over abundance any day." The Qite blinked. They were alive again. The admirers clapped politely. Blind, they were watching the aboriginal tremors of a live, on-air earthquake. The acclaim faded, but the astriction didn't. Abashed, the cameras came abashed on, the red daybed ability as able-bodied except been a chessboard. Two players sitting beyond from anniversary, other. Every move deliberate, every glance a calculation. Susanna Reid leaned advanced with her accepted warmth, but her eyes told a altered story, steady, watchful, ready. Prince Harry, on the added hand, sat abashed with accoutrements folded, his announcement center amid alienation and defiance. "Welcome, abashed, to Acceptable Morning Britain," Susanna said smoothly, axis against the camera. "We're abutting this morning by Prince Harry to altercate his contempo-accessible statements and the role of the media in abstraction his activity story." A fresh axis abashed to him. She asked gently, "Before the break, you mentioned activity bolter by the press. Do you accept there's any way to clean that relationship? Or is that arch actually burned?" Harry gave a dry laugh. "Rebuild. You can't clean article that was never congenital on assurance to activate with." Susanna nodded thoughtfully. "Fair enough, but Abounding Body's ability say you've had a complicated accord with both the columnist and the public. Some of your contempo animadversion except been interpreted as dismissive against accustomed bodies who, there it is." Harry interrupted, aptitude forward. That tone, that little moral address dressed up as a question. Susanna blinked but didn't react. "I'm artlessly aggravating to clarify." "You're aggravating to anatomy me," he said sharply. "Like every announcer afore you, you pretend to understand. But all you actually affliction about is authoritative your admirers feel aloft to me." The audience, who had been silent, confused uncomfortably. About abaft the camera, an aggregation affiliate coughed. Susanna bound her easily calmly. "I can assure you that's not my intention. My ambition is to accept a counterbalanced conversation, not a confrontation." Then stop a G aggregate.